cooking fest. Let me wash my plate. I have a teenager, a senior in high school, that cooks and doesn't clean up. And before you tell me how I should fix that, I'm just going to tell you I'm not fixing it. I'm going to simply clean up myself, and then we're going to cook. Hi. Let's see here. I'm going to make a little beef stew this afternoon. How about that? A little beef stew. Been watching this Summer I Turned Pretty. Well, I was really excited. I thought that we were going to have a hurricane. And I know before people tell me I should be excited about a hurricane, you're probably right. But that doesn't mean that I wasn't excited that we were going to have a hurricane. Hold on, let me get some. Oh, yeah. I mean, I was all set for like heavy rain. I mean, we don't have school tomorrow just because we don't. And I thought, oh, this will be great. No, not great. Okay, hang on. Start this. Hold on. Okay. Oil in here. How did your pork loin turn out? Oh, it's really good. That my family ate it. And I tell you what, they won't eat something if they don't like it. I can tell you that. Nor do they know how to put trash bags back in the trash can. I went to the grocery store on Friday, and I have not undone the groceries. Okay, we're going to just do one thing at a time here. One thing at a time. How was Sean Dietrich? Sean Dietrich was fantastic. I went yesterday to Little Washington. I was telling my subscribers this morning how great he was. This looks like a lot of bone broth, doesn't it? And he was really good. He played like 5 instruments. So if you don't follow Sean Dietrich or don't know who Sean Dietrich is, he is really good. He's a writer, and he is just a creative amazingness. I'm going to put tomatoes in my beef stew. How about that? Because I can. Actually, I'm going to put all these tomatoes in here. Carrots. So I usually peel carrots, but I was trying to save myself time, which means I'm not peeling carrots. Okay, hi. What time is it? It's 3 o'clock, and we want to eat at 6. So we're going to cook this for 3 hours. So hot. You started your day reading Sean Dietrich. Oh, he's really great. Oh, these are still good. Green beans. See, some people say cooking is difficult. It's not. You just plop your stuff right there in the darn crock pot. Now, we're going to take this beef here, and I'm going to put the beef in. Evidently, you do it in salt. I'm going to use my tomato container. And I'm going to put a little flour. I bought flour because I didn't own flour. You put a little flour and salt and pepper, and you dip the beet around. Have you ever made haystacks? No, I don't. I'm not a real cooker. Vivian Howard is a good friend of mine, though I never, ever get to see her or talk to her anymore, so I don't know if I can say that. But she if not impressed by my cooking. Okay, we're gonna put some salt on this steak. So I had 2 things of the steak, and my son Russell evidently ate one of the things. Terrible mass shooting this morning. Yes, you're right. There was, which is really bad. It was at a Mormon church. And for me, it is particularly hits home. My very, very best friend growing up was a member of the Church of Latter-day Saints, Missy Armstrong. And she really had a huge influence on me about my faith walk and just was such an inspiration. And she died of cancer the first year of our freshman year in college. And she left me her Bible. So I spent a lot of time with her at her church, at summer camp, John Birch Camp, where a lot of people from her church also went. And, you know, church and school should just be safe places. And you start to feel kind of dumb having these conversations because we've had them so many times, you know? And at some point you're like, just forget it. Like how many times can I talk about the same thing and have people listen? You know, you can say there should be stricter gun laws, and then you're going to have somebody say, well, guns don't kill people, people kill people. You know, it's just on and on and on. So there was a shooting at a Mormon church in Michigan, right? And then last night in Southport, North Carolina, which is a pretty small town, kind of like Beaufort, I would say. And there is a restaurant bar on the water, and people were just having a nice time, enjoying the weather. And a fella came up on a boat and shot, I think, 11 people, killed 3 of them. And he is former Marine. And I just kind of dug into some of his writings on things he had up on Facebook. And he appeared to me to be paranoid schizophrenic. I mean, he was writing about how his birth certificate was fake and how Jeffrey Epstein had him, you know, like under his control. I mean, it is downright totally nuts. And that is really sad that somebody, particularly somebody that served in our military, is nuts, you know, and didn't get help. And one time I had a follower, this was really interesting. I had a follower that was sending me these messages, and they were bizarre. They were like, well, you know, I know that you're talking about me and I'm recording you. It was really weird stuff. And for a while I was like, this person is weird. And then I was like, I think this person is truly like legitimately mentally ill. And so I sent a message to the person, like I went through their family list on Facebook, and I sent a message and I said, is this your family member? Because I'm concerned. I'm getting these messages that are really strange, like, you know, I know who killed Kennedy type strange. And the person was like, yes, and I'm so sorry. We have tried to help her, and we can't. I wonder what happened to her. We can't get her help. I mean, it is really not easy here. Mental health crisis behind a lot of mass shootings. Yeah. Well, this guy, if you saw his writings on Facebook, you would be like, I don't know if anybody like that even needs to be driving a car, much less having access to a gun. It's all fun and games until an innocent person gets shot. And then suddenly your rights have sort of overshadowed my rights to live. Whether at a restaurant, if you put flour in a Ziploc bag and shake it up, well, I'll know that for next time. I've never done this flour on meat thing. I've always just thrown it in the crock pot, but evidently you're supposed to sear it and it tastes better. So I read that on the internet. This is not a place to be if you really want to learn how to cook. But this is a place to be if you are not a cook and you think, well, if she can do it, then I could probably do it too. Now, you're in the right place for that. FYI. I literally have to accomplish nothing today. I slept till 9. I have a subscriber group, which I love. We had an hour-long coffee chat. It's just a conversation. It is wonderful. It's such a great group. We did that, and then that's it. That's all I've done. Did you do the Tales Morning Church? Yes, I had Tales Morning Church. I sure did. I did not go to church, which is terrible. I know. But nobody said I was perfect. Yeah. Okay. A little more salt like this. A little more pepper. You live close to where the shooting was today. Oh, just awful. Okay, I'm going to throw this in the pan, and then I'm going to get the onion on here. Ooh. Right there. Not that. No, I need. You don't need dish towels if you wear an old shirt. I prefer to wear like a shirt, kind of like the one I have on, because it doesn't show grease or dirt and all that kind of crap. My onion. What are you creating? I am I'm making beef stew, and I'm starting it a little bit late. I should have started it this morning, and I forgot. I was busy. What was I doing actually? And I'm sure you don't have to do an onion like this, but this is how I do it because I don't know how else to do it. I was doing a little research into camp accreditation and some other things. I have really been thrown for a loop with talk about Camp Mystic this week. I am used to people disagreeing with me. Like, I totally get that. I am used to people telling me that I am only supposed to talk about autism, that I have no business talking about whatever it is I'm talking about. It could be politics, it could be guns, it could be stew. But people generally feel, particularly when they don't like what I'm saying, then they suddenly have a real hard line of what they think I should be allowed to talk about. Now, if they agree with me, they don't seem to mind. I'm used to this. Years ago, I had a woman that was nuts, I would say nuts, reach out. We were getting our service dog, Honor, and she reached out to the organization that actually we were applying to get the service dog through them. They hadn't officially approved us yet. And she reached out to them and said, if you give this family a dog, they will kill it. Now, if I had been the service dog organization, I might have been like, you know what? If I'm getting a message like this, I can't be involved with these people. But thankfully for us, because we have amazing Honor over here, they didn't listen. And I am so thankful that they didn't listen, because we love our service dog, and we certainly would never harm her. So anyway, this is not unusual for me to be, but the Camp Mystic thing, the topic is interesting. I think because it feels so obvious. Okay. It feels so, it just doesn't feel like this is something that people would really be, arguing about, to me, but what do I know? So I have had people, alumni of Camp Mystic, who feel really strongly against me talking about this. They have reached out to people I work for. They have reached out to my co-authors. They, I think, have reached out to a camp that I am on the board of, recommending my removal. All because I am an advocate. And I learned this years ago when I told my subscribers this morning. I was sued by some teachers who a mother in West Virginia, Amber Pack, put a recorder in her daughter's hair. Her nonverbal daughter was just coming home really upset, and she didn't know why. And so Amber put a recorder in her daughter Adri's hair and caught that night, listened to the 6-hour recording, and heard teachers being horrible to the children in that classroom. And she went to the school, she did all the right things, and the school did nothing. They didn't even fire the teachers. So it wasn't until I heard about it about 2 weeks later. Amber had shared the recording online, gave me permission to share it, and I shared it. And the teacher sued me. It's expensive to get sued. I've also been sued in Georgia. Both cases have been thrown out. So whenever people start threatening my livelihood, I get nervous because I work, and they might think, you know, she's doing this for work. I'm not. This talking about shootings or talking about things like that does not get me followers. If anything, I lose followers. Like I talked about Tylenol, right? Charlie Kirk, just things that come in my hemisphere. I lose followers every damn time. I lose followers. But I talk about them. My husband was like, I mean, I don't know why you have to get into all this. But I'm like, because this is who I am. Like it's important that I am honest and open. Like this is who I say I'm going to be, and I'm going to be true to myself, you know? And so, it seems to be burning. Some olive oil in there. Way too much. So anyway, I talk about it. Well, Camp Mystic is a place of really, it's the wealthiest of the wealthy. I mean, it is elite. There was one woman that said, I don't care where my daughter goes to college, but I care where she goes to camp. And that is like a very, that's kind of it's a part of a world that most people are not privy to. And I am not privy to it. In North Carolina, if you want to go to a camp, it might take you a couple years to get in, but you can go. This is like a new level. We have Seafair, Seagull, Ridgecrest, Crest Ridge, Oahe, Fallen Creek, Yanalasi, Cheerio, all accredited camps, all great. Merrimack, all great camps. And I'm not, anyway, this camp, people would put what I read is people would put, their daughters are born and they put them on the waiting list for camp. In 2011, which was 15 years ago, the camp was $4,500 for 1 month. 2011, that was 15 years ago. So it is not an inexpensive camp. And that's just important to note. The same camp, the Eastland family has owned this camp for a long time. It is about to be the 100-year anniversary. People that went to Camp Mystic, not all of them, because I've heard from many of them that are like, I went to Camp Mystic, my mom went to Camp Mystic, and I'm telling you, this is wrong. I lost my niece, I lost my daughter, I lost my neighbor, I lost 3 neighbors. This is not a joke. There are people that think you're not from here, you have no business talking about this, you need to mind your own business, and I don't want to hear one more thing out of you about this camp. And a woman today said, I wonder how your camp is going to feel when they know that you're speaking like this. And I'm like, well, I think they'd actually feel pretty good because the board I'm on, we're accredited. We work really hard to be accredited. It's nuts. And so I reached out to, there's like a camp safety Instagram, another woman who is writing a lot about it that works for a national newspaper. And then I've heard from parents of these little girls that are like, thank you so much for, the one dad said, thank you so much for defending us. And then another dad said, thank you so much for sticking up for us. And it's like, if your daughter dies at a camp and you have to thank people for sticking up for you, it means that we're not doing something right, in my mind. So Camp Mystic they argued against being in like this flood, kind of FEMA floodplain, not once, not twice, but 3 times. And it might have been 4, 2011, 13, 15, 20. They are going to reopen, they announced earlier this week, they're going to reopen, and they're not going to be accredited this summer. Like, if there's anything I hope people take from this story, it's that you, please, if you send your child to camp, make sure the camp is accredited. I didn't make sure camp was accredited. Personally, I didn't know better, but I would now. Tomatoes. Yeah, somebody just said I should put the tomatoes in here. This is like an interactive cooking show where I actually do what you say. I'm putting the tomatoes in the beef that I'm doing something with. I'm not sure if I'm even doing it right, but I'm trying. Well, it's a lot of tomatoes. You went to church camp. Oh, now we'll cut them in half. That's probably even smarter. When you talk about Mark Robinson, they complain. Yes, I mean, it's just so frustrating. It's so frustrating. And I think at the end of the day, you know, I think about like drunk driving. Like, there were people that were like, you can't put somebody in jail for drinking and driving. That's their right. And it's like, not when it affects me. What's the difference? So if you're accredited, if by the American Camp Association, it takes over a year to get accredited. And it's really a pretty serious procedure. It means that you've met basically all these requirements of safety, planning, everything. So you're kind of saying to parents, it's like being nationally accredited if you're childcare programs. If you have your child in a daycare center, the highest level of quality is accreditation from the National Association for the Education of Young Children. So if you said to me, I'm looking at a childcare program, how do I know if one's good? And how do I know if one's bad? What I would tell you is never ever rely on a parent. Parents are not good judges of quality. 1, quality is a specific thing. And 2, quality, if you ask a parent, do you like your child's childcare center? They're going to say yes, because they have their own baby there. What parent is going to admit that they have their child in some crap? They're not. So in the 80s, there was never research on childcare programs because there was this thought that childcare programs didn't need research. We asked parents, parents are happy. Why would we research anything, right? It's like if you go to a doctor and you live, you like the doctor. But if you go to a doctor and die, if you like the doctor then you might say to me, well, maybe it actually is a good doctor. And I will say this, my brother was at Duke for months in intensive care, and I love Duke. My brother died. He did not live. But I would say Dr. Fulkerson, who's the head of Duke, said to my parents, you need to go somewhere else. And they moved him to Boston. You've got to get care that we're unable to give you. And that's pretty telling, right? Like, you have this amazing doctor. So you want to know that you can trust that people really care about you and your kids. So at a camp, if you're accredited, you would have a very serious emergency plan, where the flood plan for Camp Mystic just simply said floods. Please stay in your cabin. Never ever leave your cabin unless you're told otherwise. All cabins are in a safe location. You know, and that was it. That is actually not a plan for a flood. It would be like, well, we're going to hear warning. This is what we're going to do. And I think what confuses people about it is Dick Eastland, who died in the camp. He didn't want anybody to die. He was a proponent for safety, yet he wasn't accredited, which is interesting. So it's like, well, were you a proponent for safety if you weren't accredited? You know, I don't know. Or you argued against the floodplain because that would mean you'd have to have flood insurance, or you'd have to move your cabins. So sometimes things can be two ways, right? It's very interesting to me. Okay, do you think this is done? Is this done? My subscribers know. My subscribers get to see this on Facebook. I'm just amazed at how many people are really like just cannot deal. Okay, I think this is done. You want to see? Ooh. We're gonna go back over here and we're gonna put it in the crock pot. We're taking the beef, tomatoes, and mix here, which is like flour mix. We're gonna put it in the crock pot, which is going to end up being a lovely beef stew. So I'm proud of myself for making this. Oh, here comes the dog. Here comes the dog. Okay, now we put this. We're going to turn the water on. Spray. I'm not being paid to share this Dawn, but I love this stuff. There. Do we need green beans? No, we don't need green beans because, why don't we do green beans? Because I already put a bunch of green beans in here. Everybody is going to camp here. Well, that's not true. I loved camp to a degree. I would have liked camp more if my mother hadn't constantly written me letters telling me about how fun it was at the beach while I was there. I did not like that. Well, let me see if I can find my potatoes. Best if used by May 2025. Who thinks that's too old? Oh, this one's still good. Perhaps the camp on the river should be left but cleaned up and left the honor to the girls. I think what I would say is we would love to open back up. We realize that we are not ready to do so. They have said we're not going to be in any of the cabins that were flooded, which is sort of obvious because the cabins were destroyed and that we have to be accredited. We are going to do everything we can to do this right. And how is that going to look? And what can we do to make families feel safe with our opening back up, you know? Put some canned carrots. I love a carrot. So I'm a real fan of when you cook something of like putting fresh in and not fresh. So I might do a thing of potatoes like this, and then I might do some fresh potatoes. And I kind of like that. I like keeping you guessing. My mom sent us to day camp. Well, my children haven't really enjoyed camp. My husband went to camp every 5 seconds. I love camp. I think camp is really an amazing experience for children. I really do. It is just such a place to make friends and build relationships. I mean, there's a reason people love it. But I do think it should be safe. And I think you can say, well, you know what, like, they didn't want this to happen. You know, I think you could argue that. I was thinking about Dylan Klebold's mother, you know, of Columbine, and she wrote a letter, and the letter is called she wrote a book called A Mother's Reckoning. And in the book, she talks about that things she wished she had known better, you know. So instead of saying, like, I didn't know he had a gun, I didn't know he was going to do all this, she recognized, like, boy, I could have done things better. And you never hear anybody speak poorly of her. And I think it's because she was willing to own what she saw as her kind of unfortunate responsibility in the situation. Your meat is going to get chewy in the crock pot. Then so be it. Hi.
Yeah, no.
What you doing, silly goose? You know? If you cook something long enough, it tastes good. Canned potatoes will be mush by the time the red potatoes are done. Now, you put peas. I didn't get any peas. Well, maybe I'll wait and put the canned things in there later then. So there. I wish I'd gotten more corn. I love corn. I used to. Especially this white corn. Potatoes in there. Now, put the rest of the bone broth in there. Amos is getting so tall. Yes, he is. He's tall. So anyway, you just hate for parents to have to be dealing with this. You know, it's interesting if you lose a child. I haven't lost a child, but I lost a brother. So I've been in a family that's lost a child. And everything for us, a diagnosis of cancer, different than a death from a tragedy. But your life is in 2 chunks: life before cancer, life after cancer. And I would say, I could speak pretty confidently that these families that lost their daughters, they have their life in 2 parts. They have their life before camp and their life now. And that's really hard to always live with that relationship, you know, and to be like, okay, I'll never have that life again. I had no idea how good life was. You know, you look back, and I do that now myself with just my own life. And I try to tell myself when things are hard or not perfect or whatever, I'm like, you know what? Like, my life is really good. And I don't want to miss the fact that it's really good, right? Like, I want to be like, holy cow, life is good, because really bad things could happen. And I don't want to miss the good, you know, and not pay attention to it. You're supposed to put 2 bay leaves in this stuff. Do bay leaves go old? It's kind of crispy. There. Ooh, got some smell to them. A little salt in here. We're going to put some pepper. Okay. Many have eaten here. Few have died. So anyway, you know, there's just, life is fragile and amazing and wonderful. And It's our job to keep people safe and to be able to talk openly without violence of how to have that happen. And so when you defend, just be careful who you defend, I have lost a child. I've also owned a home in the hill country. It's pure stupidity if you don't know how fast the waters rise there. You just don't ever want anybody to know what it's like to lose a child. It's terrible. Ooh, corn. It's terrible. As the sibling of a child, I got to have a big brother for 15 years, and then I hadn't gotten to have one the last 35 years. And I liked having a big brother. I wanted a bunch of children because I don't like being an only child. Like, this is not what I signed up for. I like, that's not, it's way more fun to have somebody. No offense to the only children out there, but I can speak intelligibly about it because I've had both. It's better to have a sibling. It is better. I'll just be honest. It is better. Okay, so y'all are saying it's not, I should not put this tomato paste in, or I should. Used by May 2025. That's not that old. Put it in there. So anyway. It's a sign not to open it. Let's see what the stew looks like now. Okay, hold on just a minute. No, I have not done anything. I have, my house is trashed. I've done nothing. I'm just living, I think you're making vegetable soup. No, I'm not. There's beef in it. It's not vegetable soup. It has beef. But I can't get it out. Use my knife. Oh, okay. With tomato paste in it. Ooh, tomato paste is very pasty. Okay, let's see. Stuff cooks pretty good. Stuff like this is always better the second time you eat it, to be honest. But we're eating it today because we don't have anything else to have. Okay, I'm gonna let you see it. Is Russell missing food at school? I don't think so. This is it. Beef stew. Chef Boyar Adrian. If you're watching this video on YouTube, double click it to like it. If you want to spend $5 a month for coffee chats where you get to help pick the topics and we have a conversation, I would love for you to be there. There is no pressure. It is no different than when you're reading an article and you go to click on it and it says you have to subscribe to read it and you're pissed. But you know what? You don't write a letter to the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal or to, James Earl and say, why are you charging? I hate you. You just don't do it. It's also on Facebook right now. I have Facebook subscribers and YouTube members. So there you have it. I have 3 cats, a dog, 3 teenagers, and an autistic 11-year-old who insists for his 12th birthday he wants a Lamborghini. That's life in a nutshell. And here is my kitchen, which is just really looking good here. And I'm moving furniture around, so I have taken... It's bad times over here. Bad times. Anyway, glad y'all are here. Goodbye. Where's the kitten? The kitten is wandering around the kitchen.